We are leaving brooding Europe and travelling back across the Atlantic for 1925's Wolf Blood. When the year 1925 is brought up in tandem with the horror genre, quite naturally, most people think of the Phantom of the Opera, one of the most influential horrors of the decade, and horror legend Lon Chaney's most recognizable role. However, at the same time, creeping on the down low, was the American-produced film Wolf Blood. Wolf Blood is often cited as the first feature-length film about werewolves ever made. Back in 1913, there was a short film simply titled The Werewolf, which was a tale of furry vengeance. But sadly the film was lost in the infamous fire at Universal Studios in 1924. So, by unfortunate default, Wolf Blood is indeed the oldest surviving werewolf content on screen. It also goes by the longer title of Wolf Blood, A Tale of the Forest. It was directed by Bruce M. Mitchell and George Chesebro. Well, let's not beat around the bush. Let me tell you about the plot. Our protagonist is the boss of a logging company up in the pine forests of Canada, and he has the greatest name of any hero in cinema history. Move over, James Bond. Take a hike, Indiana. It is time for Dick Bannister. Dick is just a swell guy. He gets along with his crew and gets the job done. But trouble is amiss, however. There is a rival logging company not far away, run by French Canadians, who, if you judge them by this film, are the most vile people on the planet. The French Canadians are portrayed as filthy, selfish, evil alcoholics who will turn to criminal efforts on a whim to get their way. Even their dialogue cards leave sparse room for imagination. The rival company orders a hit on Dick Bannister's men. The crime does pay, at least in a short run. Dick is forced to set up a hospital camp and seek help from a real surgeon and his boss, the new owner of the overall company. The new boss is revealed to be Edith Ford, who is, shock horror, a so-called young and attractive woman. Ye gads! She is a city gal through and through, living the party life every night of the week. This is an area of contention with her fiancé, one Dr. Horton, who just so happens to be a surgeon. You can see where this is going, yes? He wants her all to himself. These busy jazz parties be damned. The call comes in. Edith needs to attend the logging camp up north, and they need a surgeon as well. Well, she knows just the dude. The marriage can wait, as Dr. Horton reluctantly agrees. They visit the camp, and instantly Dick Bannister lives up to his name by overstepping his bounds and attempting a railing. Sadly for him, however, a platonic relationship quickly forms between Dick and Edith, while Horton tends to the victims of the rival group. The film then drudges through the growing tensions, taking its time to insult alcohol at every given moment. But this was the era of US prohibition after all. Eventually, things are getting a bit wild, so Dick goes on a recon mission to the enemy camp and realizes they are sabotaging the crucial water flow by building a dam. He confronts his nemesis, Devereaux, and a fight sparks. We finally learn the outcome of the age-old question, rock, paper, Dick! He is battered and left for dead. You may be wondering what all of this bullshit has to do with werewolves. Well, we're now 35 minutes into the 67-minute runtime without a shred of horror, wolf-related or otherwise. This has been more Bridget Jones in the Wood than The Howling. But do not fret, my dear audience, it is coming. Somewhat. Dr. Horton comes across the dying Dick. The only shelter he can find belongs to a drunk French-Canadian good-for-nothing. True to character, he refuses to give blood to save Dick's life. He does, however, quite casually mention that he has a pet wolf that will be more than willing to give a drop of the good old hemoglobin. Madly, the doctor agrees. I was curious, so I did a little bit of Googling. The process is called xenotransfusion, and was mainly tested in the 1660s in France. But after some deaths, it was ultimately prohibited by several governments and the Pope, as I should think. However, yes, this particular doctor just went ahead with the operation. Why not? He had no other option, I guess. Hence the title, Wolf Blood. Edith then nurses Dick back to relative health, while the jealous doctor looks on. After being sworn to secrecy, the drunkard Frenchman gives in after all of 2 minutes and spreads the word that Dick Bannister is positively brimming with wolf DNA. Dick is shunned and rejected by his friends and employees, everyone except Edith. But in a fit of envy, the dodgy doctor leans into the rumours to convince both Edith and Dick that there may be a bad moon rising. Sickly Dick eats up every word. Like the wolfmen of cinema that would follow in Dick Bannister's hairy wake, he too is plagued by a deep sadness and a deep-seated resentment of his situation and supposed curse. He is even driven to the point of suicide. What tips Dickie Banny over the edge is news that the head of the rival logging company, the very man who left him for dead, has had his throat torn out by a wolf. Old Dickie B, suffering from memory loss, assumes responsibility and runs away. He follows a pack of double-exposed phantom wolves who are happily jogging over the side of a 1,000-foot drop of a cliff. He wants to join them in furry hell, but Edith is hot on his trail. It's a race against time, made all the more tense as Edith paves the way for every woman running through the woods in a horror film for the next century. While this is the first feature film to focus on a werewolf, sadly there is no werewolf as we know them. There is no hairy man-beast. There is no transformation whatsoever, which is often what sticks in people's minds and gets their butts in seats. If I were to ask, what's the first thing you think of when I mention the movie An American Werewolf in London? If you said Nurse Alex Price, well, fair enough, but most would recall the famous transformation scene. The closest we get to a transformation in wolf blood is when Dick Bannister forgets to shave. I will say this, however. Compared to the gloomy, downbeat horrors of 1920s European cinema, Wolf Blood does offer a gentler viewing experience. The dialogue is lighter and often comical in tone, and the visuals in general are brighter. Edith's introductory scene, set during an upbeat flapper jazz hall dance, shows a side of the decade that is often lost in European horror. But ultimately, Wolf Blood is little more than a curious historical tidbit for genre fanatics. The time it takes for the plot to get to the hook of the film, the plain style of filmmaking, and the lack of any real werewolves as we know them today, all leave much to be desired. It is a shame that there was no sequel to Wolf Blood, what with the basic premise of an animal transfusion gone awry. The possibilities are endless. Bat blood, cat blood, mud blood. Or what about Morgan blood, where we spend 45 minutes watching a man fumble in and out of a menage a trois until he slips on a banana peel and receives a blood donation from none other than Piers Morgan. All seems well until the man slowly turns into a slobbering, petulant journalist, despised by friends and enemies alike. He naturally decides to jump off a cliff.